again. We have much for which to thank Belgium. There are Belgian chocolates, Belgian waffles, and the attractive and talented performer who is our guest today. She's Monique Van Vooren. In addition to speaking with the star, we'll be talking about them and other celestial matters. Also with us is the noted astrologer John Stevens, who recently authored The Astrology Diet. And now, here's your host and man of the half hour, Skippy Lowe.
Monique Van Vooren, good God. A lady never leaves the house without gloves. I mean, you know.
Well, in New York I never do.
Well, that's where you live, in Manhattan.
Yes. Uh-huh.
But even if you live in Chicago, Monique, or Paris, Monique never leaves. That is, you're brought up. I mean,
well,
hats or gloves or... Nowadays, people just wear jeans.
Well, it all depends where you live. I think that you have a different lifestyle out here in California, where it is absolutely unheard of to see people walking around with gloves. But in New York, I think people do wear hats and have gloves. And I have to be very careful about the sun because I'm very fair and I burn very easily. And I have nice hands, and I don't want to have them ruined by the sun either.
Okay, but let's get back. Monique, jet setter. I mean, you're with the jet setters. Monique, what? You were in movies, and you did over 50 movies, shows,
yes,
summer theater.
A lot of shows. But I'm mainly a writer now. I wrote a very successful novel called Night Sanctuary, which was in hardcover by Simon & Schuster, and is in paperback by New American Library. It was translated in 10 languages. And Preston Fisher of Republic Pictures, who did the two Mrs. Glenville, Lace 1 and Lace 2, is doing a miniseries of it. So I'm not just in the jet set. I must be doing something else. I'm obviously working very hard.
But you also write for a lot of magazines.
Yes, I do.
You know, the Andy Warhol interview.
Yes.
Why does all the big jet setters do get into that? Like Mrs. Getz, Cornelia's mother, she writes too.
Yes, because I think that right now I think there's a great emphasis on people who do something rather than people who just inherited something.
Right, right.
And even the people who have inherited money or people who have a lot of money like Caroline Herrera or Zizi Guest and whatnot, they still want to be part of the people who are the doers of the world. They participate in doing something and creating something.
Yeah, but you're the last of the Rockefellers, the B.B. Rockefeller. Tell me about B.B. Rockefeller.
Oh my God. I really don't wish to talk about...
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Dorothy Kilgallen.
Dorothy Kilgallen was a fabulous person. She was a friend of mine. She was good to me. A lot of people didn't like her. But, you can only judge people in retrospect as to how they are towards you. And that was my feeling towards Dorothy, who met an untimely death, I think, and that was very unfortunate. But I did like her a lot.
Copa days. Ah, those were the days, weren't they? The Copa days, Monique Van Vooren?
No, the Copa days I didn't know. That was before my time.
It was?
It really was, yes. The
Society,
Copa days came before my time. The Store Club was before my time. That was before my time.
I said, okay, married to a count. German count?
I was never married to a count.
Now, why did that word get out? They said Monique was married to a German count. That's the rumor.
Not at all.
No? Okay. Straighten me out.
Just like, I don't know why it came like I was Miss Belgium. I was never Miss anything.
You weren't Miss Belgium either.
No, I never entered any contest. How could I win anything or lose anything? That way you never win, you never lose.
You came to America when you were what? How old?
I was not quite 17. I came as an exchange student and went to New York University and majored in philosophy.
Philosophy.
Which is a far cry from show business, which I entered accidentally, and I thought it was going to be temporarily, and what was supposed to be temporarily became a way of life. And then I stopped. I wanted to write a novel. How many people do you know that tell you, well, I'm going to write a novel, but I'm going to write it when I'm older, when I'm financially secure, when I have time? I knew these things were never going to happen. The old part, yes, but I knew that if I wanted to write the novel, I had to do it. So I cut the umbilical cord at the time with show business and went and sat down for 3 years and wrote a novel. I'm in the midst of finishing my second one.
You grew up in a convent?
Yes.
In Belgium?
Very, very strictly, yes.
From a very wealthy Belgian family?
Well-to-do family.
Well-to-do family. Your father was a very big man in
The
New York?
arts, yes.
In the arts?
Yes.
I see. Monique, first film. What was it?
Oh, it
Come on.
was Vittorio De Sica, Tomorrow is Too Late.
What kind of man was he? He discovered you, I understand.
Yes, he was a fantastic man, and I played a schoolgirl in a film called Tomorrow is Too Late, and I never thought I would enter show business, but one thing led to another. Then I became a showgirl in John Murray Anderson's Almanac, and then I did all kinds of films, and I did
Brigitte
films
Bardot,
in Europe.
tell
I
me.
know her very well.
I know. Tell me about her.
Well, she lived in, when I met her, she was living in Saint-Tropez, and she was married to Vadim, which goes back quite many years. She's a, it's amazing that she loved animals so much.
She always did. Did she always did, Monique?
Always did, but she gave up her son when he was born to her husband. She did not want to be a mother.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't understand.
But you're a mother.
Oh, yes.
You're a mother of one child or two?
Yes, one child.
One child.
Yeah.
His name is Eric Purcell?
Yes.
And your husband was a theatrical agent in New York City,
Yes.
was he? His name
One of
was...
my husbands.
One of... How many times Monique Van Vooren's been married?
Oh, my goodness, 4 times. But you know, it's not really...
bad, not bad. I mean,
Well,
listen,
that I could have been
Josh has
10.
Huh?
Could have been 10. I could have
10?
been married 10 times. Well, to be...
4 husbands, Monique, and 1 child.
Yes.
And, but who's some of the famous husbands?
Well, I don't think that... I think everyone in their own right was famous. I married... my last husband was certainly is a famous man. He is a theatrical agent who represents most of the country western stars.
Yes.
John Cash, Eddie Arnold, most of the big ones.
You live in New York?
I live in New York. I live right in the center of Manhattan, where all the action is. And I go
You said
out
where all the action is. So that
Yes.
means Monique Van Vooren likes action. Is
I
that
sure
right?
do, absolutely. I like it. I like to go out. I like to be invited. I like to have friends. I like to walk. I like to
So California doesn't have...
lick windows like sorbet.
So Monique, California doesn't have that style.
That's why I
here.
stay about a
It's
week.
Just about a week?
A
It doesn't
week,
have
10
the
days
style
and
here.
go.
It just doesn't have the style.
Well, it has its own style. It's a different style. It is not my style at this time of my life, but it has a great style.
Jacqueline Onassis, those are your friends, you
Yes.
know. Andy Warhol.
Yes, Andy was a great friend of mine, and it was
Tell me about
such
Andy.
a tragedy.
Tell me about it.
I did a
loved him.
film
I
for
knew him very
Andy
well, too.
called Andy Warhol's Frankenstein.
You did.
And I was one of the very first to be an editor of Interview magazine. And I did the first interviews that Interview magazine did, and I continue to write for them. Andy was an absolute creation, because Andy was so talked about for not ever saying anything, actually.
Never
Gee
said a
or
word, did he?
gosh, no, but he was... he said everybody in the world is going to be famous for 15 minutes, and he happened to be famous for the past 20 years, I think.
But Andy had his own crowd.
Entourage, yes.
And he said, please pass the salt very quietly. Always.
He was a
Wait.
very gentle and a very shy person, and very religious, because I have a church right across the street from where I live in New York on 66th Street, and Andy lived right next door to me. And I always watched him going to church almost daily.
Daily?
He was very religious. And yet a lot of people around him who were part of that sort of underground crowd of the 70s, and died very tragically with drugs and this and that, and he never used any of it.
What made that crowd go for Andy Warhol?
Because he was the genius of his time. I think long after we are all gone, the world will still talk about Andy Warhol, and it is like living in the days of a Picasso, or be part of his entourage. I think that Andy Warhol opened himself a lot to people that he found interesting, amusing, doers.
What month
he
was
was attracted to wealth.
He was?
Andy, yes, he was very attracted and very fascinated by inherited wealth.
Old money.
Old money.
I see. Tell me something. What sign was Andy Warhol? What sign? Do you remember his sign?
I
his
don't
birthday?
remember his
You
sign,
don't?
no.
Because there's a gentleman next to you. His name is John Stevens, and he is an astrologer. And I just had to bring him on the show with you,
Okay.
Monique, because Monique Van Vooren. This is Mink. I'd like you to meet John Stevens next to you. He's a charming
we
man.
had the
Hello,
pleasure
John.
to meet
How
him
are you?
earlier.
Hi, Skip.
Tell me about your astrology diet. What
Yes.
is that all about?
Well, astrology diet is, as the name implies, it's all about food.
Right.
But it's about, it's a personalized approach to dieting.
Right.
Because I believe that if we can accept that people have different personalities
Right.
because of what time of year they're born, and not everybody accepts that, but many, many millions of people do accept that.
Right.
And I believe that if we accept that, then we must also accept that people have individual biological differences. And of course, we know that everyone does. Some people can eat all they want, never seem to gain any weight, and others, they just think about the food and already the calorie counter is starting to
Right.
go. You see, so,
Isn't it also genetic?
well, genetic, but genetic shows up in the chart also, you see.
So it tells you what you should eat and shouldn't eat. Is that it? Is that what
Yes,
you're going to tell us?
there are basic tendencies for each sun sign that you want to gravitate toward
Right.
more. For instance, the fire signs tend to need more protein.
Right.
The water signs tend to need more fruits and vegetables and tend to do better with them. And the whole rationale behind it
Yes.
is that if you eat the foods that relate to your sun sign, then you are actually feel full quicker because those foods tend to be more satisfying.
For your sign.
And so that you're not eating a lot of empty calories and you're feeling full sooner, it's a tremendous rationale and it actually works.
Makes a
you
lot
know.
of sense.
Yes, it does. What's your sign, darling?
I'm Aries.
You're Aries. That's a nice sign, isn't it?
Well, they say
But
that.
Is that your
Well,
sun? What's your sun
It's a
sign?
difficult sign.
Is it?
He's a Taurus.
No. Aries is a difficult sign, but you said that you have the Scorpio ascendant.
Yes.
You see, now that's what makes you a very intense personality, because whenever you get the Aries-Scorpio combination, you have the power of Aries and then the intensity of Scorpio. You see, you're either hot or cold, you're one way or the other.
Yes.
And you're like a bundle of dynamite, you see. And so, but when it comes to dieting, you see, you could also be very extreme in your tastes or in the ways that you eat. One day you could be total abstain from food, and then the other day eat some kind of exotic or unusual food and eat a lot of it, you see.
Well, I hate to say this, but I don't diet. I don't gain weight, so to
Monique
speak.
doesn't diet at all. You just.
Well, it's just that I've had the habits
don't
of a
eat.
lifetime. I've never eaten between meals. I've never drank milk. I don't drink alcohol.
That's the main thing, isn't it, John?
Well, that's
drinking,
a big part
that's
of it.
a big part of
That's
it.
a big
It
part
helps,
of it,
right?
yeah.
What's the day like for Monique Van Vooren? What time of the day does Monique Van Vooren
It
get up
all-
in New York?
Oh, in New York it all depends. 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Oh, come on, Monique. You're sitting there
Sure.
telling me you get up at 7:30 in Manhattan?
It all depends. Yes, I go
Really?
to work from 9 to 2. Yes, I make
Really?
it. I try
I would
to.
think you would sleep until
Sometimes I sleep until 12 or 1 o'clock.
Yes.
It all depends. But I do have a routine of going to work on my computer every day from 9 to 2. So I make myself get up, and regardless of, I'm like Cinderella. You know, after past 12 midnight or 1 o'clock, I no longer am the girl I used to be and flocking around clubs and whatnot. First of all, there are no. You think Manhattan is what it was in the 70s? It really isn't. There are no places to go.
Oh, come on, Monique. There are.
There's a lot of theater that we are so
But so
grateful
places
for.
to
It's a
go for
lot of
society,
friends.
for the jet setters, the society people.
Well,
Is that what you're trying to tell
people
me now?
entertain at
Yeah.
home
Yeah.
mainly, or in 2 or 3 restaurants. You know, you have to think that in New York we have a population of what, 12 million, maybe
Right.
2,000 people a night go out.
John Stevens. Susan Strasberg called me and says, good God, this Jan Stevens is just brilliant. Skippy, you've got to get him on the show. And I called you and I said, I'd love to have you on the show.
Yes. Well, Susan.
Now, go ahead. She
Yeah,
is an astrologer too.
Oh,
isn't
yeah,
she?
she's quite a student
Susan.
of astrology.
Right.
She knows her stuff.
She's a Gemini like I
A
am.
Gemini, yes.
Tell me what's
and
happening.
she loves New York too, you see, because New York is more of the Gemini vibration.
Ah, that's me.
You see, L.A. is more of the Leo vibration. You know, it's the world stage, really. L.A. The world
LA?
stage. You know, Leo. Yeah, sure.
The world stage. What do you actually mean by the
All
world
our films are exported from Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
You
Okay.
see,
I see.
so you know, it's the center of the whole film industry. But in New York, there's a lot of creativity, which Geminis are very creative and full of ideas and full of the networking and the communication. And this is where all of this stuff comes out of New York. All of the greatest inventions of the world, if you think about it, came from the eastern part of the United States. You know, the telephone, the telegraph, and well, even TV. I mean, all of it came from, and that's the very creative aspect of Gemini. You see, so that's why you relate very well to New York. Susan also, and you.
I love New York.
Yes.
Now the food. What should I eat not to gain weight? What's my? I'm a Gemini. Signs Gemini.
Well,
Gemini.
a lot of Geminis have a sweet tooth, and that can get to be a problem.
True.
Really, you have?
Yeah, kind of.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I do like sweets. You're right. Excellent.
I don't.
And you know, for a lot of Geminis, it's not bad to eat sugar, but you want to get more natural forms of sugar, such as in honey, or in fructose, or in fruits themselves.
Right.
How
You see?
interesting.
Yeah.
Because with Geminis, eating a lot of sugar doesn't put weight on them that much unless you really overdo it. Because for Geminis, it tends to speed them up. The mind becomes more active, they move a little faster, and they talk faster.
You don't know which one you're talking to.
That's right.
I'm a triple Gemini.
You've got three personalities.
You know, John, I walk a lot. I love to walk. That's why I like.
How do you walk in LA?
I walk, darling. I put my little sneakers on and I just walk the streets, and that's it. Ignore everybody.
What's interesting about your chart, now you gave me your information before the show, and I drew up the chart for you.
Yes.
You've got about 6 planets in the 12th house. And the 12th house is the house that is associated with films, with illusion, and with all the glitz and the glamour of Hollywood. So what could be more appropriate than what you're doing, you see?
I see. New Age life. What is that all about? The New Age life. I'd like to know about this magazine.
Naturally, the New Age Life magazine covers astrology, but it also covers all aspect of metaphysics. And this is the thing that is becoming of age, you know, with this thing with Nancy Reagan. In fact, there's a piece in the magazine on page 25 where we almost have photographic proof of how this thing with Nancy goes all the way back to her Hollywood years with Carol Reiter. And Carol Reiter was...
We just lost him.
Yes.
Wonderful man.
He was a wonderful man.
Yes, he was my teacher.
I know he was.
Is that right?
Yes, he was your teacher.
Oh.
Yes. Tell me something, John.
Nostradamus.
Tell me about Nostradamus.
Well, Nostradamus.
Is that true or coming true, or what do you think?
Well, I think that was a lot of hype over a
How do we
quatrain.
know? How do we know there was ever a Nostradamus?
Oh, there was a Nostradamus.
There was?
Oh,
You
medieval
believe?
astrologer. He was born in 1503.
Okay.
And he was a court astrologer to Catherine de' Medici.
Yeah.
Very famous in his own day, but famous more among the elite because the common people were very superstitious, and they thought they accused him of witchcraft. For a great while he was very unpopular, but it's only because that his predictions and his gift of prophecy was so accurate that it frightened many people. In fact, in an epistle to King Henry II, it's a very famous letter that he wrote, he said, if I could assign an exact time and a date to every one of my quatrains, it could have been done.
I see.
But it would not have been agreeable to all for me to do it. See, because he recognized, even with what he gave in his quatrains, which are very obtuse, kind of a poetic verse, you know, that even people were able to extract meanings from that and have verification that those prophecies were correct. That they became frightened. So imagine if he gave the exact date and place of every prediction, how much pandemonium, you see.
I'm going to ask you, John. Mrs. Reagan, has she opened doors for astrologers like you? She's got to. Your phone must be ringing like crazy right now.
Well, in general, it has created more interest and more acceptance of it.
Acceptance?
Yeah, I just did a showcase over at Sportsman's Lodge for people to introduce them to what astrology is all about, and they are very receptive as a result of this. In fact, they even mentioned that, you know, now we've all got to get our charts done now that Nancy's doing it.
Yes, that's the in thing right now. Is it in New York? Is that what's happening in Manhattan too?
Well, I think that in New York, the circle of people that I have known, everybody's
They've
always
always done
been
it.
interested in
course.
astrology.
Yeah, but it's opening doors for
Absolutely.
other people
It has
who can
opened
believe.
doors.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
And this is destined for the age of Aquarius, where this will become more and more accepted on a mass scale. See, because Aquarius is the vibration of astrology. It deals with metaphysics, higher vibrational things, and this is all of what's coming of age. The only thing is that we have to move in it responsibly. And we have to use these occult sciences, as we call them, in a spiritual way, I believe, in order for them to be accurate and effective and helpful.
John Stevens, where are you from? You sound very spiritual, doesn't he,
Yes,
Monique?
very.
Very spiritual, a very nice young man. Where are you from, John?
Well, I'm from New York, and you know, you mentioned that you were raised in the convent.
Yes.
And for years I was things. Religion is following the rules of a religion, perhaps, but spiritual is establishing that communication with God.
Yes.
And that's, I think, really, and that's even more so destined for the age of Aquarius, individual communion with God. We're falling away from so much of the traditional religions and so much of the bureaucracy of it all, and coming more into that individual understanding, which will get stronger and stronger.
Monique, Andy Warhol, what did he leave you? You must have...
Well, Andy Warhol, what he left me is that every Christmas for the past 15 years, Andy Warhol gave me a fabulous silk screen. And they are lining up my apartment, and they are worth now a fortune. And he gave that to many of his friends. You remember a girl who was in his very first entourage and called Viva.
Viva, of course, I know
Well,
Viva,
he
yes.
painted for her a painting that must be the size of this wall, which they have offered her $2 million for.
Did they really?
And he did it just as a...
Do you know what Andy gave me? He gave me a piggy jar. I got a piggy thing from him. We went shopping in the village.
Yes.
And he never used to look at his things. He just buy it and just put it away.
Just put them away.
Just away.
Can you
and
believe
just-
what the
and he did
auction
that
brought
once.
in?
You know what he did? He shipped it for my birthday on June 6 in 1970. I think it was 70 or 71. And he put a little card in. I have it. It's a piggy jar. It is a Dutch boy. It's just gorgeous. It is just beautiful. I've had it for all these years. Now I understand it's worth a lot of money.
Oh, yes.
But I wouldn't give up. You know, I was talking to
wouldn't give up
Cornelia Guest,
anything
and
he
she
has,
says,
yes.
keep it.
Absolutely.
You're very good friends with Cornelia. Tell me about Cornelia. She's such a nice lady.
Well, Cornelia
I
is
like
just
her.
a very glamorous, exciting girl who inherited a lot of money and feels that she wants to do something by herself.
She's
She has
gotta be an
been
actress.
trying for a long time to break into films and to be in the acting world and be someone just on her own.
Yeah.
And for that reason, she moved from New York to California because she thought the entries would be better for her out here than they are in New York as far as films are concerned.
I met her with Jacqueline Stallone, and they are very good buddies.
Yes.
They're real good. She loves Jacqueline very, very much. She went with Sylvester for a
Yes,
while.
I know that.
And they came to my birthday party. the
Well, I
other
heard
night.
you had a birthday party the other
I was at
night.
Carl's and Charlie's, had a marvelous birthday there. Jan, you weren't around. I couldn't get a hold of you or something. But anyway,
I heard it was wonderful.
It was a great birthday party.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you, darling.
Belatedly.
Yes. What's happening with Triple Gemini? You were telling me before. You
Yes.
said you have a chart for me, too.
You know, I just wonder if there's some things happening around you about making a move.
Yeah, I love it.
Is
I
this
mean,
in the
you tell
talking
me.
stage at this point?
I'm going to be changing, yes. I might
Yeah.
be working with Miss Stallone.
Yeah, because there are some big changes, but don't be disappointed if some of these are false starts. You think something's going to happen, but I predict that by the middle of '89, you're actually going to be doing something on a much larger scale, a much
Really?
broader
Oh,
scale,
nice.
and that's when it actually is going to start. So don't be disappointed. This
John,
is all coming
I don't
about.
take life serious. I take it from moment to moment, just
Yes,
now. Right
yes.
now is the most important thing for me. I'm looking at you two wonderful people. That's all I have.
Yes.
This is what I have, you two, right now. I don't take what's going to happen. And that's the only... How do you take life, Monique? Is that...
Oh,
You
I
take
am.
it serious? I don't take it serious, real serious, like I used to.
I used to not take it seriously. I'm taking it far more seriously right now
You are?
than I used to. Yes, I'm far more. Yes, I have changed a great deal.
Like, what do you mean you've changed a great deal? I mean, looking back...
Well,
let's-
looking back, I
looking
used
back
to
over your
think,
life.
Oh, I used to just take off for a foreign country on the spur of the moment. I'm far more responsible than I used to be. I am much more dedicated to what I'm doing, which is writing right now, than I used to be.
So you like to write. She could sign to writer? That's
Aries
what I want
and
to do. I want to
Scorpio.
write.
You must have an interesting chart. Like, you probably have a lot of third house things, you see. But you're probably a good writer.
I want to write.
With all that Gemini.
I want to write.
Because Gemini is the sign of the writer.
I'm going to do my story.
Yeah, yeah.
But you have to do it.
I am.
But I can imagine that with your style of writing, you just cut them to the quick. I mean, you don't make any bones about it. You just get right to the
point.
To the point.
Yes,
right
really.
to the point. Very direct.
I see.
Aries, Scorpio, naturally. You see.
You married young?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Been
You
married
live
for-
in California or back east?
I live in California, and
And
I've
this
been
book,
out here
where do
almost
people
20
get
years.
this book? This is a wonderful book. Where do we buy
Well,
this book?
it's available nationwide. You
Uh-huh.
can get it at B. Dalton, most anywhere,
Uh-huh.
and in a lot of metaphysical bookstores.
I think this is a great carol writer. What a wonderful man.
Yes.
Sidney
Yes.
Omar, all these wonderful people. You got all these wonderful quotes in the back here. And Susan Strasberg, what a great lady she is.
Yes.
She's
yes,
into
and
astrology.
spiritual as well, and very much interested in all these metaphysical studies.
You use that word spiritual. To be an astrologer, you've got to have a spiritual inner. Is that?
I don't think it's
I
necessary.
think to be a good one, you have to.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I separate myself from what I call the occultists,
Yes.
because the occultists are just there for the science itself,
Yes.
Right.
and they claim the power for themselves. But
Uh-huh.
I believe that in any of these pursuits, which I think properly must be called spiritual pursuits, that you must draw on the power of God, and it is the power His power that this stuff is able to work and you're
Yes.
able to predict, which Nostradamus very, very much believed
Right.
himself.
Right.
And, you know,
Elizabeth Taylor, Ash Wednesday.
I li-
What a wonderful movie.
Well,
I mean, tell me about that film.
well, I was very fortunate to be in that film. It was Dominic Dunn, who is, to me, such a wonderful writer. He just has a new book out called
He has a book. I'm going to interview him. Yes.
what is the name of that
I
book?
can't remember. It's
People
out.
Like Us. Wonderful. I
Yeah.
recommend it to anybody
Yes.
to read. It's wonderful. But Dominic Dunn was the producer of the film, and Elizabeth Taylor was then still patching up things with Richard Burton, and we were making the film in Venice. In just outside of Venice, and she was fighting with him so many times, and they were drinking a lot and all that. My part, which was supposed to be something like 5 days, wound up to be 3 weeks, so I was ecstatic over it.
Was it
And
summertime or
she's-
wintertime when you did
It was summertime.
Summertime. It was warm, okay.
It was warm, and she's an absolutely fantastic lady, such a generous person, warm, wonderful, fun to be with, and we have remained very good friends.
Monique Van Vooren, looking back over your life, do you have any regrets at all? Or would you like to do something that you'd left out in your life?
Oh, my dear, dear one, it would take forever to tell you what I miss and what I should have done and what I didn't do and what I do regret. Main thing, what I regret is that I didn't do more of what I did. I don't regret the things that I did. I regret sometimes that I didn't do enough of them, that's all.
You had a lot of men in your life.
No, not really.
Not people think though.
People think so.
Because
but, you know,
they
they
think-
assume because they see you with so-and-so and they see you with so-and-so. And if you are in the public eye that you...